Peter, so good to see you. Didn't you love that crash zoom? That was real. That was in camera and that was Nikon style. And that makes a lot of sense. Geez, that's a big bird. That makes a lot of sense because today is Nikon Day. Yes, indeed, we have a brand new camera from Nikon. It is the highly rumored Z30. That's a little bit of entry-level love right there. And also today, we're going to talk about the 400 f4.5 VRS. All of the formal specs and pricing is now released. Well, let's get into it. And here it is, the new Z30. All right, let's do it. And here it is, everybody. This is the Z30. Yes, indeed, I've had it now for about 2.5 months. And I just have to say thank you so much to Nikon for letting me have this for so long. All right, I'm joking. This is not a Z30. This is actually just a Z6. But I do almost have a Z30 by way of having a Z50 and a ZFC. There is so much that's in common with these cameras. There's a lot of little things that are different, but the absolute basics, like the sensor size, are absolutely the same. It appears to be the same sensor. Now, is it a more modernized one or not? I don't know whether it is or not. And is the focus system improved? Well, we don't know yet because we don't have one in hand. But essentially, if it is like a Z50 or a ZFC, they both work incredibly well from my perspective with face detect and the sort of operations that this camera is aimed at. So let's talk about what this camera is actually all about. Well, the very first and most major difference that I can see is it does not have an EVF. And that's a big deal for some people. It's very much aimed at content creators and vloggers and videographers, people who just want to do things light and fast. And that's what this camera is super good at. What it does have that Nikon don't do very often, and the only camera that has it is the ZFC, is it has the flip sideways screen, the vari-angle screen. Now that is absolutely essential if you are part of the vlogging fraternity. You might want to vlog, you might want to use it as a webcam, and I can tell you from using my ZFC that way that it absolutely works super well. And one of the coolest differences, which is something that I would love to see in all Z cameras that this camera has, is that it has a tally light. So you know when the camera's recording. Now, all Nikon cameras actually have the green AF illuminator light, and I've always wondered whether that could be repurposed to be a tally light as well, but this camera has its own purpose-built tally light. So that to me is a massive plus for the market that it's aimed at. And indeed, it's got stereo microphones on the top, which are the biggest I think we've ever seen in a Z camera. And Nikon are going to be providing a dead cat or a windsock arrangement to put on top of that so that you can just use the on-camera mic. And that makes recording super simple. And there are a couple of different kits. There's a vlogging kit, which is going to come with a microphone and the vlogging handle and the remote control. There's also a single lens kit, which will have the 16 to 50mm lens. And there's a twin lens kit, which will have the 16 to 50 and the 50 to 250. These are a lot of great options. It's going to cover pretty much everything you need. And these lenses are stabilized. Now, of course, the Z30, like the Z50 and the ZFC, are not stabilized cameras. They do not have in-body image stabilization. So if you want stabilization, well, you do need to get that in the lenses that you purchase, of which some Z lenses do and some Z lenses don't. And another feature which appears to be unique to this level of camera is that the 30-minute record limit has been lifted. Now in 4K, you get something between 30 and 40 minutes, and in 1080p, I think you get something like 2 hours plus. Of course, the Z30 can also shoot stills, and it shoots stills at up to 11 frames per second. Also, it has a time-lapse function built in. Another little cool thing that this camera does is the fact that if you want to get a lower quality video signal and charge the camera at the same time through one cable, you can do that through USB-C. It saves you from having to use the HDMI micro port. So that's pretty cool that you can get everything you need to run your webcam setup in simply one cable. This is the first look at the Z30. We will get into more details when we actually get one in hand. The current price is around $700 US. It's not a bad place to start for probably what will be, maybe, Nikon's most entry-level camera. And of course, as always, over time, it will come down in price. Please do let me know in the comments below, what do you think of the Z30? Is this a camera for you? Will you be getting it for your live streaming kit? There's so much more to learn about the Z30, but we will find out more really soon. Now we're going to talk about the other release for today, which is the 400mm. And, well, I happen to have that right here, you know, just like the other one, but I actually do. And here it is, the 400mm. I can talk more about it now, which is pretty exciting. As has already been indicated before, this lens is super light. And now we've found out that it's only 1.1 kilograms or 1,100 grams. It is super light and ridiculously well balanced, as I talked about in my previous video. It's so easy to hold, handheld. And look, from my perspective, this is a little bit of a game changer if you want super high quality optics at that 400mm range. Obviously you can go out to 600mm if you want to shoot in DX on a Z7 or a Z9. You've still got 20 megapixel files. That's outstanding. And it's all in this one package. And from my perspective, with everything I know about this lens, there's really only one con to everything that it provides. Let's just talk about speed. This thing is ridiculously fast. We now know, and I could kind of tell when I was using it, but I didn't know, we now know that it has STM motors in it for focus. We also know that it has ridiculous stabilization, 5.5 stops of VR, plus it's got the Synchro VR with the Z9, which takes you out to 6 stops of stabilization. It's 400mm. It can go out to 600mm when it's cropped to DX, and you still have 20 megapixels on a Z7 or a Z9, and so on. There is so much to love about this lens. We also know that it's got a ridiculous amount of coatings, all sorts of different types of glass in there, which suppress flaring and suppress chromatic aberration and pretty much suppress everything you want to suppress. Again, we saw this in my preview video. And it's tiny, it's light, and I can only think of one con. There is only one con to this lens, and that is the f4.5. But let's be honest with ourselves, it's not really a con, it's just a fact of life for a lens of this size, that's this light, that you can wield with no trouble at all. I think there's a good chance that this lens is going to become quite a compelling alternative to those that might want the 400 2.8. Now obviously it's a stop and a half's difference. It's so small, it's so light, it's so fast, it's so stable. And the craziest part of all with this lens, well, it would have to be the price, coming in at around $3,200 US, and Australian pricing being around 5,500 Australian dollars. It is just so much lens for, I think, the right sort of price. From my perspective, Nikon have pretty much fleshed out the telephoto end of the spectrum with just one more lens that the majority of people are still hanging out for, which is the 200 to 600, which my best guess is that is sometime in the next 9 or so months. That's my guess as to when we will see that lens. We've now got the 800 PF, which is ridiculous. We've got the 400 2.8, which is mega ridiculous. And we've got this lens here. So I think for your sports, your action, your wildlife people, this is going to become a little bit of a standard, sort of like a 50mm in the prime space. I think they've made something unique and interesting, powerful, light. I just kind of can't speak highly enough of this lens. In the 3 weeks that we've had this, we have shot in all sorts of environments with all sorts of subject matters. For example, last night, I was out at the airport shooting airplanes, and I've also used this to shoot a desktop video. It can do everything. It can do anything. It's a super exciting day for Nikon today. We've got the Z30 formally announced. We've got the 400mm formally announced. These are 2 great new products. I can't wait to see what Nikon next has in store for us. And did we see an actual release date for these? I actually haven't seen that, but I'm guessing in both cases it's probably about a month away. If this is your first time here, I'd love to see you again, so please do subscribe, please share, please like. Don't forget to check out my website. Also, I've got hundreds of videos. If you go down there, you can check them out and you can watch those as well. And let's talk about live streams. Should we do some soon? Let me know about that in the comments below as well. All right, I'm going now. I'm not going to give this back to Nikon.